Everyone living in Japan is required to join the national health insurance system. And that means basically going through your employer, through Shakai Hoken, or going through the city or the local authority where you live, through Kokumin Kenko Hoken. Now, that should be enough for most people, but supplementary medical insurance is incredibly popular in Japan. The thing is, do you actually need it? Now, the national health insurance system in Japan is pretty robust. Everyone pays into it. The amount you have to pay is based on the previous year's income. So based on whatever your taxable income was last year, your premiums for this year will be determined. If you're in Shakai Hoken through your employer, you pay half of the premium and your employer pays the other half. If you're on Kokumin Kenko Hoken through the city, you pay your premium yourself. Practice, you can go to pretty much any clinic you like. You can get a referral to any hospital you like. Medical treatments in Japan are relatively reasonably priced, and through the national health insurance system, you'd normally pay 30% of the bill, and the insurance system would cover the other 70%. People over 70 only pay 20%, and people over 75 only pay 10%, unless their income is high enough that they actually end up paying 30% as well. So you'd have to look up to see if that applies to you. Japan also has a large medical expenses cap system where you don't have to pay over a certain amount each month based on your income. And we did a video about that recently, so I'll link to that in the description if you want to check it out. If the national health insurance is so good, why would people want to get supplementary insurance? That's a good question. First thing is that supplementary medical insurance does not cover your medical costs. So that 30% or 20% or 10% that you're paying to the medical provider is not covered by the supplementary medical insurance. That's not how it works. So it's not going to cover your medical expenses. So what does it do? Well, there's two main things that supplementary medical insurance covers. It covers you having to go into hospital, or in some cases when you have to visit a hospital. So normally there's a per diem amount that the insurance pays you. So if you end up staying in hospital, they would pay you X amount of money per day. And that's determined by your insurance policy. And so a higher per diem would be a more expensive policy and so on. Normally it's something like 5,000 yen a day or 10,000 yen a day. Some cases 20,000 yen a day. So basically it's a payment that's designed to help you deal with the expense of going into hospital without paying for the treatment directly. They can also pay out lump sums for certain illnesses or certain conditions. So for example, many policies, if you get cancer, they'll give you a lump sum payment of cash. If you break a bone, for example, you get a lump sum payment. If you're diagnosed with other problems, if you have an operation and so on. So it's basically, it's going to depend on your policy. Basically, it's a kind of event equals cash payout kind of situation. Now, you can get medical insurance from all sorts of insurance companies. You can also get it from the Kokumin Kyosai, kind of public cooperative system. And one of the best places to look for medical insurance is actually kakaku.com. Now, it's a good place to start because it's very easy to get a bunch of quotes, and then you can get an idea of the cost and the kind of plans that might be available to you, and then you can go shopping as well. If you prefer to deal with a person, you could go to one of the Hoken Madoguchi shops all around Japan, and you can walk in and get information from them without any kind of commitment to buy or sign up for anything. The Kokumin Kyosai is a pretty low cost and very popular option, and I'd certainly make sure to look at that as well when you're comparing plans if you're thinking about signing up. Some employers also have a group plan that they might offer to their employees, and what that means is you'd go through a normal insurance company, but you'd get a considerable discount because presumably lots of people within the company are signing up for it. You can ask your HR department about any such plans available. Now, one thing to watch out for is that sometimes medical insurance is bundled with life insurance, particularly term life insurance. And this is often not a good deal. So normally it's better to break up insurances and buy, medical insurance separately from life insurance. And if you're looking for life insurance, I recommend looking for term life insurance, which is much cheaper and actually just covers you for the duration that you need, rather than whole life insurance, which is designed more of a kind of investment product bundled with life insurance, which is much more expensive, much more profitable for the insurance company, and maybe not a good fit for you. If you're enjoying the video and you'd like to see more content about personal finance, about investing, about life in Japan, please subscribe. It really helps us out and lets us continue making more videos. So how about me? I've been in Japan for 23 years and I have had multiple medical insurances during that time. To begin with, I didn't really know what I was doing, and one of my wife's friends from school just happened to be selling insurance. And this is very common in Japan. It's a very common kind of side job for people. So it's very, very common to have people who basically try to sell insurance to all their friends. And there's often a kind of social obligation. So my wife and I, we've actually signed up for a number of insurance products that we probably didn't need, just out of this kind of social obligation to friends and so on. So definitely be aware of that. And the first product that I signed up to was a medical insurance and whole life insurance, exactly the thing I told you to avoid a few minutes ago. And this was fine. It was very expensive. I kept the product until our kids got old enough to leave home. And then I cancelled the whole life policy, got a refund of some of the premiums because they were put into a kind of investment product as part of that, but it was a complete waste of money in lots of ways, so I don't recommend doing that. Since then, I've kept the medical insurance part of the policy, and I've actually made a number of claims on the policy. So the first claim I had was I had a motorcycle accident where I broke my ankle, and I made a claim and I got a lump sum payment for the broken bone. I didn't have to go into hospital, so there wasn't any kind of hospital per diem involved in that one. A couple of years later, I broke my coccyx, so my tailbone, going down a big slide with my granddaughters. And I got another lump sum payment for that because it was a broken bone. Again, no hospital stay, so no per diem for that either. Third time, I started doing jiu-jitsu and I fractured a rib. And again, I got a lump sum payment for that broken bone. And I also got a warning in that the policy came with there was a limit on the number of times you could claim for broken bones, and I was getting close to that limit. So be aware of that if you have a policy. A couple of years ago, I had a hospital stay for a hip operation. This is quite a serious operation. I had the operation and then I had 3.5 weeks in the hospital. And for that one, I got a lump sum for the operation, and I got, I think it was 5,000 yen a day for the 3.5 weeks. And this basically paid for my private room in the hospital. So I chose to have a private room, which is an out-of-pocket expense not covered by national health insurance, but the money I got from my medical insurance policy basically covered the private room cost, and that was well worth it in my opinion. And the last one is this year I'll be going in for another operation. I need to have my meniscus repaired. I'll be having a knee operation in August, and again I'll be claiming for the operation and the hospital stay. So the hospital stay this time should only be 3 nights, so I'll get a little bit of money for that. In my case, with these multiple accidents and broken bones and operations and hospital stays, I think I've more or less broken even on the insurance. So the amount of money I've paid in premiums, I've kind of got back in insurance payouts. So it's kind of a zero for me. And that's more or less how I look at these insurance policies. They're absolutely not necessary in Japan because we have a robust national health insurance system with that large medical expenses cap. But they might be nice as a supplementary thing, particularly if you think there's a good chance you'll be hospitalized and that you might want to have a private room and that kind of thing. They can help you cover those costs. If you don't have supplementary medical insurance, I wouldn't worry about it. It's not going to make a big difference. In a lot of cases, it's probably going to be better to have an emergency fund. and then you can use your emergency fund to cover your supplementary medical costs rather than the supplementary medical insurance. But if you prefer to have it, I don't think that's a bad thing either. How about you? Do you have supplementary medical insurance? Are you happy with it? Have you used it? Please leave any comments or questions below, and I'll see you in the next video.